Hey, Dave.
Hey Shelby, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm feeling really good today. I
That's awesome.
I had a 90-minute yoga class that I was just getting crushed in.
Yeah, how interesting. I had a hour class that I was getting crushed in as well. So yeah, I understand that's pushing our bodies to the limit.
And how perfect, because I think this is going to really play out nicely in this topic of resiliency and mental resilience in our
Mm.
conversation today. So, start us off, Dave. What would you like to contribute to this call?
Well, I was feeling this morning in this class actually. I was about halfway through, it was kicking my butt, and I was like, I just felt this. I could either just lay down in child's pose and just quit, or I can be resilient and work through this and stay focused and confident that I can get through. And it was tough, but I did it, and I felt at the end I was like, wow, that was, it's always such a good feeling when you stick with the plan, that extra mile that gets you to the end. That's when you get those rewards. It's just that resilience comes in handy, because that's a time where you can easily quit or you can be resilient and work through. And so this was a simple example today, but I'm sure you've had experiences of resilience in your life.
Oh, I've had a few, but I'd love to check in. So, what made you stay?
What made me stay?
What made you stay? How did you stay?
Honestly, one of the reasons was, we got this, we had this nice young yoga instructor and these students that were also younger, and my ass is in there probably twice, a little more than twice their age, and I'm doing pretty well. So I'm like, I am going to be resilient and show that this is no problem for me, man. It was looked easy for them. I'm like, I'm not gonna go down on this, man. So that's really was part of it for sure.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
I can
And
say
I did. Yeah, and I think they're impressed because they were like, I think they're impressed by it. So I was like, okay, I made it through. I'm gonna do it again. See you next week.
I absolutely love that. I think that that can definitely be a big driver for continuing. Today, my experience, so I'm in Canada, as you know, and I know you're in the States, so you have different restrictions than we do, but our yoga studios and gyms have been pretty much closed for a long period of time now. And they kind of opened and closed for a period, but I just decided to wait until they fully opened so I can go back in and have a consistent yoga schedule. So I did a 90-minute yoga Bikram class, and it was very, very hot, and it's on a very hot day today. And the quick up downs were just making me so dizzy, and I was getting lightheaded. I'm like, okay, breathe. And what I was noticing actually is that I stopped breathing when I perceived challenge, which when you're in a hot yoga room and you're trying to use your body, you can't stop breathing because you need that air to circulate to your brain.
That's right.
And so I'm lying on my back. I wanted to just lay down for a bit because I was just super dizzy. I started getting ringing in my ear, and I started getting numbness and tingling in my hands. And I'm just laying there in the heat being like, I just want to survive. And then I'm like, hey, go back to the breath, go back to the breath. And I found that super helpful to get me to stay and just be present with the experience of what I'm experiencing, because I find when I'm trying to resist what I'm experiencing, that's when the suffering and the pain tends to increase. So just observing the experience, and even though it was incredibly challenging, uncomfortable, I think that was in the moment just building that resiliency to be in those situations. And I know
Mm-hmm.
emotionally I've been in those situations, but I haven't been in those situations physically in a long,
Right.
a long period of time, or at least for me, anyways, because of the gym and the yoga studios being a factor.
Sure.
So it was bringing me back into those really uncomfortable physical sensations that I don't necessarily like to sit in. But I thought
Mm-hmm.
afterwards, what a powerful experience to sit in it, be with it, experience it, and then again, that reward of like, wow, I got through that.
Yeah, I think that's why it's great to draw on these. Look throughout your life at all the moments where you were resilient, where you could have stopped or quit, and I think, when I work with clients that are in this situation, we like to look back and where have you been in this before? Where have you shown resilience? Where have you gone through the challenge where at the time you were in it, it seems so overwhelming. And when you look back later, you're like, wow, it wasn't as difficult as I thought. And then that's when you utilize your resilience. So I think it's great to draw back from those experiences. So when you're in the present moment and you're faced with the choice of, do I be resilient here? And you remember, yes, I've been through this and worse probably, and I made it through. I don't know. I draw off this past 9 months of my life has been super challenging with Tanya passing, and so many times I've just been resilient and getting through the next day and whatever. And so I draw on that when I'm doing these yoga poses. Sometimes, like, I've gotten through a hell of a lot more challenges this year and been resilient. I'm going to make it through this thing. It's not that big a deal, really, when you think about it. So I think it's great to just acknowledge successes in our past and being resilient. So today and in the future, you can use that, right?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. And you brought up two good points. And that one is being mindful. You've been through challenge and pain before, just in another form. And so this is just re-experiencing something like that. And we know that pain and challenge is conserved over time. It just changes form. And so acknowledging those past times when you've been resilient really gives you that confidence and certainty in your own being that, yeah, I can do this again. And I have resources that can help me get through it. And then the other piece that I think was so important, and especially for me today in yoga, it was just one day at a time. But for me in the yoga class, it was, okay, let's take this one breath at a time. And the point I want to make here is that a lot of uncomfortable stuff that comes up, whether that's physical sensations, it's not, maybe you're nauseous or you're dizzy or you feel like you want to throw up or you got pain. So those physical sensations, they're impermanent and they're constantly changing over time, right? And so if you just breathe and stick with it, it actually transforms and change. And if you actually experience it, you'll notice it'll change as you observe it, which is so powerful. And then the emotions, which are also is the correct term, ephemeral, where it doesn't last, or transient. There we go. Transient. You can see, yes, I'm being, say, angry, or I'm in this moment, I'm feeling anxious, but the observer of the emotion is not anxious, is not angry, is not, name any other emotion. So if you can actually create that gap and just experience it and observe it, it changes it. Totally.
Yeah. And I remember something I always think about that I heard about 22 years ago was someone said, you're never given a challenge you can't handle. And so I always remind myself of that when I'm facing something. It just automatically comes in. I'm like, okay, we're not given a problem we can't handle, so there must be a solution. And sometimes it's be more resilient through it. Maybe that's the solution, is just stick with this a little longer. But so it's just a good thing to remember as well when we're facing challenges, to be resilient. You never get a problem you can't handle. Stay with it,
And your resiliency builds resiliency, right?
Exactly. And then each time you get through something, what happens to your confidence level and your self-worth and self-esteem? It goes way up when you do it. So, it's so many blessings out of it. So scan your life, if you're listening, and find those moments where you and acknowledge that you've done this. And so and just see how it makes you feel. It makes you change how you feel about yourself. Yeah,
I love that. So much good knowledge, so much good wisdom. Any other pieces? Were you gonna add something else?
No, I think that was great. Thank you for the topic. Now, if someone wanted to get a hold of you, how would we find you, Shelby?
Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram. Those are probably the two best places if you want to connect and have a conversation about your resiliency or challenges that you're having and how to move through them. How about you, Dave?
Perfect. DrDaveTug.com is the best spot. Go find me, and you can find all my social media, and you can actually fill out a little survey or ask me a question. And I love getting back to clients with questions and problem solving things. So anyway, great. Have a great rest of your day. Lovely to see you and everyone out there, and we'll see you soon.
Love it. Great to chat with you again, Dave.
Bye-bye.